Okay, in this video we're looking at the CFL, the Canadian Football League, the Canadian equivalent of the NFL, can survive the COVID-19 pandemic. It is a small league and it is heavily reliant on match-going fans. Now this is where we're having the debate here in England about English football. And the Premier League can survive with the TV deal it has. It makes some losses, but it's not going to go bust. The CFL, on the other hand, is more reliant on match-going fans than TV revenue, and this is where it gets really, really concerning. It doesn't make a lot of money to begin with, and nearly half the teams make a loss. So let's have a look at some of the facts and figures, and then you can be the judge for yourselves. But it is a summer-based league. Now, the lockdown is currently in place. Now, we're midway through April as I'm recording this video. If the league cannot get started on time, we could see the CFL not only struggle financially in the long term, but possibly go out of existence, possibly overnight. So it has 9 teams, only 5 of them are profitable, 4 of them are owned by the league at the moment, and the league pumps money into them to keep them afloat. That is a worrying sign. The TV revenue in Canadian dollars is only 16 million from the Canadian TV deal. I didn't look at international TV deals and streaming services that it's had agreements with, but only 16 million in revenue from TV deal in Canada alone, in Canadian dollars. This means the league is obviously heavily reliant on its 305 million Canadian dollar revenue for ticket sales, merchandise sales and concession sales at match day. On match day, it's heavily reliant on season tickets being sold, and then on top of that, the average fan who just wants to go for a couple of games might buy a small package, or if he can buy on the day, buy on the gate tickets. 305 million in Canadian dollars it made. So the TV deal will not be enough to cover all 9 teams through this period. There is not enough money to keep all the teams afloat, considering that 4 of them are already making losses, which the league is supporting. Just to put that into perspective, the NFL in 2018, now I know I'm using US dollars here, but it just shows you, because the Canadian to US dollar isn't that much of an exchange rate change. I think it's 1.4 Canadian dollars to 1 US dollar. It made 14.4 billion the year before in 2018. That is the revenue disparity. That's not saying profits and loss. That's just how much money the league makes in revenue. That's income, not outgoings. 14.4 billion. The NFL could buy the CFL and keep it afloat. It makes that much money. To put it into further perspective, I looked at the Dallas Cowboys, the most profitable team in the NFL. In US dollars, they made 950 billion last year. In Canadian, that's 1.3 billion in revenue alone. That would take the CFL 4 years with healthy revenue streams to equal on the current level that it is making. Now, revenues were up with the CFL in recent years. They've been up on season upon season, which is a good sign. So they're on an upward trend. However, reliant on ticket sales. And if no matches are taking place, you're not making any money. Because the TV deal itself and the overseas TV deals add a little bit more to that pot, is not enough to cover the running costs of all 9 teams. It's just not enough. So one team makes 4 years worth of revenue for the CFL as a whole. Now we get to the really interesting bit, is the salary cap. The salary cap in 2019 was 5.7 million Canadian dollars, which averaged out as $54,000 per player. Some players earn a couple of million Canadian dollars. I think the top salaries are around 2.5 million Canadian. It's not a lot of money. To put that into perspective, the highest paid player last year was Russell Wilson in the NFL. He earned 79 million US dollars, which is equivalent to 109.89 million Canadian. His salary is basically a third of the profits made. For the whole league, his salary makes up a third of that. That just shows you how cash poor the CFL is, and also it does actually highlight how reliant they are on fans going to games. Now, the CFL, as I said, in the mid-90s decided to expand into the US. They were making lots of profits at the time on the back of the NHL player strike and 94 lockout, so they actually attracted more fans because the NHL was showing signs of player unrest and had a reduced season in the mid-90s. The CFL nicked fans of disgruntled Canadian hockey fans. Plus, Canada had lost several teams from the Canadian markets to the US in this period. So the Canadian Football League was making pretty good revenue streams at the time in real terms, and they overreached themselves. It was ruinous for the league at the time, and highly damaging. It took them a long time to get back to where they are now. And the fact that 4 teams are still making a loss is deeply concerning for a league that is only a 9-team league. If about half your league is making a loss, and you're pumping, let's say, 305 million is the revenue, and out of that, if you split that between 9 teams, nearly half of that revenue is going into keeping teams profitable or prop them up so they break even, then you're down to about 160 million out of that revenue stream that is available to play with. In theory, that's not including other overheads and CFL, head office. They got staffing costs plus paying all the players. You work that out. If your salary cap is 5.7 million per team, and there's 9 teams, so let's make it 6 million. Okay, let's say it's 6 million for argument's sake. That's about 54 million dollars out of that revenue stream goes on salary on the players, roughly, approximately. 54 million out of the 305 million made in revenue goes on paying the players alone. That is not including the coaching staff and the non-playing staff at all 9 teams. Plus, you have, as I say, 4 teams losing money. If no league can take place this year, or they have a reduced season, that revenue stream they made in 2019, in 2020 will be much reduced. And then you have to look at the salary cap. If you've got about 50 to 60 million in salary cap, for example, there's a few variables, but the salary cap goes up this year. So we'll call it 60 million. If out of that 305 million of last year's revenues, you've got, 1/6 of that going on player salaries alone, before topping up 4 teams that are struggling to even break even, you're already struggling as a league. Have no games, that TV deal, and those that have already signed salaries, that's going to eat a lot of money out of what's left, which isn't a lot. Because if they've already signed players, which they already have, that TV deal plus the other add-ons, the international streaming and TV deals, is not enough money to keep the league going. And to put it into perspective, if one player in the NFL can earn a third of what the annual revenue is for the league, that's insane. Excuse me. Should the NFL help the CFL? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because the NFL cannot sign all these CFL players to contracts because they're limited on roster size. Can the NFL help financially? Absolutely it should. It should absolutely look at trying to support its sister league north of the border, because if it does not, we could see this league go out of business utterly. And what is interesting is when the NHL had its lockout in 2004-2005, viewership for this went through the roof, and profits went through the roof as well. They skyrocketed because Canadian sports fans had no sport to watch for 2 summers, because the hockey season pre-season starts in September, and the regular season starts in October, roughly when the end of this season is taking place. The playoffs had record viewership. Following on, there was no playoffs played in April and May and June, and therefore the start of the following CFL season in 2005 got record viewership figures and attendances. So it can be a profitable league, and all teams can make money. But as it currently stands, the longer this lockdown goes on internationally, because a lot of their players come from overseas as well, which is another big concern. They partnered up with Amateur and the Japanese X League. If they can't bring players in from overseas, and the US-Canadian border is shut, and a lot of the players come from the US as well, that poses difficulties. And if they can play games, getting the teams together and actually putting competitive teams on the field, let alone the money side of things, where it is concerning. So there we go. Make your own minds up. But if no games are played, I'm not sure how much money the CFL has made sure it's got in the bank. Because if it's only making 305 million Canadian dollars a year, it's making less money than some NHL teams make in a year. It's making less money than the Dallas Cowboys. It will take 4 years at the current rate, if games were to take place, for them to match what the Dallas Cowboys made last year in revenue. That is absolutely insane. But there we go. Thank you very much for watching. Please place your thoughts below. I know there's a lot of numbers in there, but it is deeply concerning that if the CFL goes out of business, the NFL can't pick up the player slack. But the NFL surely has enough money to support its sister league north of the border in order to have a healthy competitive game in the long term. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much for watching. Please place your thoughts below, and I'll have some more videos for you very, very soon.